Good morning, everybody. We want to welcome you to Hearst Castle, one of your 280 California state parks. My name is Laura, and I'm a tour guide here at Hearst Castle. We want to put out a special welcome to our virtual Castle Kids Parks PE participants today. We are in the Esplanade, on the north side of the Esplanade. It's about a 400-meter sidewalk that surrounds the grounds, 20 to 25 acres of gardens, and of course, Hearst Castle itself. We're going to be doing about 7 to 10 different exercises today for the next 30 to 35 minutes, about 10 to 15 reps per exercise. Before we get started, talking a little bit about William Randolph Hearst, the man behind Hearst Castle, a very wealthy businessman who decided to build up here. It's a childhood dream come true. Need to talk a little bit about safety. Now, if you missed us last week, it's because we had some poor air quality. But today, the air quality is pretty good. We're registering at about 48 parts per million, or ppm. So we're in the good category. Safety is our #1 issue with you folks. So we could not present last week for that very reason with the poor air quality. But today we can do so. Now you'll also notice that I have a mask on. And the reason for that mask is because we are in the midst of our COVID-19 pandemic still. So we want to encourage you to continue wearing your mask, especially if you're indoors. But if you decide that you want to exercise with us outdoors, according to the CDC and our California state guidelines, you can remove that mask so long as you maintain a good 6 to 8 feet of physical distance between yourself, your family, and your friends who might be joining you here today with the exercises we'll be doing. Now, because I'm outdoors and because we're closed to the public, and my camera person, he's got his mask on and is a good 6 to 8 feet away, I'm going to go ahead and remove my mask. Anyway, there you see my face, since we're outside exercising. Now, as I said, if you're feeling uncomfortable, leave that mask on, even if you're outside. Again, maintain that 6 to 8 feet physical distance. You want to keep that mask nearby. I'm going to put that in my pocket right here, because when we're done with our exercises today, you'll want to put that mask back on to protect yourself as well as your family and friends. Continuing on with the safety guidelines, you'll also want to go ahead, get yourself your own hydration station, your own water bottle. Why is that? Well, with 7 to 10 exercises a day, 30 to 35 minutes of exercise, you're going to want to take a sip off that water bottle, your own personal hydration station. A couple of our exercises as well might encourage your heart to elevate it a little bit and your respiration rate. So you might want to take a breather as well, quite literally a breather. So sit it out and join us for another exercise when you catch your breath. Finally, a couple of our other exercises today will be on the ground. So if you're outdoors near some grass, you want to go ahead when you take it down to the ground, kneel on the grass or lie on that grass. Or if you've got a little mat or rug, like you'll see later today with me, you want to have that to protect your knees and your back. All right. So you're seeing behind me, beautiful set of flowers. As I mentioned, Mr. Hearst, when he built up here for 28 years, from 1919 to 1947, he wanted a garden, an Italian-style garden, to surround his castle. And you're looking at what's called the fuchsia. It looks like a ballerina. And we're going to have another tour guide here take us through some exercises to help warm us up before we get started. We're going to zip through the zoo and roam the ranch today. But we're going to do some ballerina stretches with our fuchsia flower fancy footwork. And my friend, Sylvia, who's going to be taking you through some of those exercises today.
Hello, everybody. As Peter mentioned, my name is Sylvia, and I'm going to start with some stretching today, and it's going to be themed after these lovely fuchsia flowers. Now, if you notice, they look like a ballerina. The stems here, they could be their feet, and they could also be up on their point. And then the rest of the flower kind of looks like a skirt or maybe a tutu. And maybe they're even doing a pirouette. So in the theme and in the spirit of these fuchsia, let's do a couple of stretches that you would usually see if you took ballet. I'm going to scoot back just a little bit here because some of the stretches, if you're not feeling comfortable or your balance is not that good today, you're more than welcome to hold on to something as you do the stretching. It could be the back of a chair, a railing, Right now we have a wall here, so if you want to, feel free to hold on to something. I'm also going to show you modifications of the exercises. So depending on where you are, what level you're at, feel free to pick one of these modifications that fits you. Now, the important thing about ballet and stretching in general is that you want to feel tall. You want to grow out of that stretch. And stretching is so important. We should try to incorporate it into our daily lives. Your body craves to be stretched every day. So let's give it what it wants. And it's also going to help you with injury. Now, the first stretch we're going to try, what we're going to do is ballet has positions for your feet. First position is about right here. So we're going to try that for the first exercise. And I'll show you the entire stretch in its highest modification, and then I'll kind of show you the alternatives afterwards. So what we're going to do is always think of yourself as having a string on top of your head, and it's pulling you upward. So you always want to grow out of that stretch. So think of that string pulling up on your head, and it will make everything a little bit taller. So the first stretch is we're going to lift out of our stretch, and we're going to bend our legs a little bit, and we're going to bring our hand up and then down. Then we're going to stretch our other one and bring it down. And then finally, we're going to bring them both up and back down. Now, if it's too much for you to keep squatting out with your knees, you can just stand and just bring your hands up, back down, up, back down, and then bring them up together. Make sure you stretch up and bring it down. If you need to sit down, you're more than welcome to. So let's say you have a chair or something, you can sit down, and all you would do is your arms. So you would bring them up, down, and then up. Make sure you stretch up and out and bring it down. Many modifications, so pick the one you want. Let's do 2 more on each side. I'll do the toughest modification, but you pick the one you want. So ready? Here we go. We're going to go down, bring it around, down with your legs, bring it around, and then up with both, stretch out of it, and then come back down. One more time. We're going to go up with our arms and around, up and around, and then both up, bring it out, and back down. So great job. Now we're going to move on to our next one. This one's a little bit more challenging, and it's going to stretch the sides of you, which is a wonderful stretch. It feels really good. So I'll show you the hardest modification, and then I'll show you the other ones. So basically what you want to do is, if you're good with balance, this is how it's going to look. You're going to bring your leg up, bring it out and to the side, and then we're going to bring it down all the way around and down. So then you do the other side. You bring it up, out, to the side, and then all the way around and back down with your hands. Now, if that's a little too much for you, let me show you some modifications. You can also bring your legs out just a little bit. So you just do the arm motions. So you're going to bring it to the side and bring it around. To the side and bring it around. The key to this is when you go to the side, you really want to feel a stretch all the way down the side and bring it again up and out. Up and out. So you really feel that stretch. Again, if you want to sit down, you can also do this. So if you sit down, you're just doing the arm motion. Bring it to the side and down. To the side and down. Now also, if you can't go all the way down, then just go as far as you can go. So you bring it to the side and just kind of bring it halfway and then back up. So try whatever you like, wherever you are, whatever modification you want. So let's try 2 more. I'll do the toughest one, but pick the one that you like. So you ready? Here we go. We're going to bring it up, balance, out, side, and then all the way around. And let's do one on the other side. Ready? We're going to bring it up, out to the side, and all the way down and around. So great job. I'm sure everyone did a wonderful job. If you continue these type of stretches daily, you'll see what works wonders on your body, and it really will help you in your daily activity. And pretty soon, if you continue stretching, you'll even be able to do this, just like the pretty ballerina Fuchsia.
Thank you, Sylvia. That was wonderful. I don't know about you, but I got a good stretch out of that. And we are now all warmed up, folks. So let's go ahead, begin zipping through that zoo and roaming the ranch. Now, as we walk along the esplanade, as I mentioned before, it's about quarter mile, 400-meter sidewalk that frames the gardens here as well as the castle, which now, as you see in the sunshine there, we're in the shadows of one of the two Caroline Bell Towers. Now, inside each of those towers are 18 bronze bells, Caroline bells, and they ring at 12 noon every day. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to be zipping through the zoo. Mr. Hearst, in addition to having his castle, his 20 to 25 acres of gardens, he actually had a zoo here as well. 80 different species of animals. And as you take a look at first of the two bell towers, think about the bells ringing and their pendulums swinging back and forth. Because one of the zoo animals that happened to live here back in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s were monkeys. And monkeys like to swing their arms. So that's what we're going to do to engage the shoulders, our back muscles a little bit, our biceps and our triceps. Also will give us a little bit of cardio at the same time. Now, you can do this seated if you need to, or standing. I'm going to show it standing at this point in time. So I'm going to go ahead and face away from the camera. And like we like to talk about, you want to have good posture. Sylvia talked about good posture. That's what we also want to have for all these exercises we do today as well. So my posture, I've got my toes pointing out in front of me, and my feet are right underneath my hips, which are right underneath my shoulders, about a hip width stance. I also want to keep my midsection nice and tight. So tighten the tummy and tighten your posterior. You'll bring your shoulders up, back, and just like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to simultaneously swing our arms up and then back, just like so, back and forth. Now, some of us may have some shoulder issues as I face the camera here. I'm showing you what it looks like from the front. The shoulder issues that you might have, just go ahead and bring it maybe halfway up and halfway back. And again, you can do these seated if you wish. Now, I don't have a chair, obviously, but imagine sitting down and doing this. All right. And those of you that want more challenge, you can go a little bit faster. Okay. Almost give it like an explosive sort of throw as you come with those arms up and back, up and back. Again, think about those bell towers ringing and those monkeys swinging their arms. If you want even more of a challenge, guess what? You can throw a little squat into it if you wish. Now, we have to be careful when we squat because we want to make sure that our hips and our knees and our ankles are all aligned. So if you can do a really good squat, you're going to come down and you're going to bring those arms up and then squat down as you bring them back. Now, notice hips, knees, ankles all aligned. We don't want those knees to come in. We don't want those knees to go out. We also don't want those knees to go past the toes. So if you don't feel comfortable with the squat, that's fine, but you can do swinging up and then back down with a squat. And again, as I mentioned, we're going to do about 10 to 15 of these. I'll do about 3 more of these with the squat, and then we'll do the rest as just regular arm swings. All right, and here we go. Regular arm swings. You want to make sure your exhale. I would go ahead and recommend exhaling as you bring the arms up, inhaling as you bring the arms back. Let's do 3 and 2 and 1. All right. Well, we had 80 species of zoo animals, monkeys being one of them. We're going to take a walk along the esplanade, near that stairwell over there, and talk about his giraffes next. And you might want to go ahead, pick up that hydration station, take a little sip of water. You can see that our gardeners are out, making sure that these 20, 25 acres of gardens are well watered, manicured, and the like. So even though we're not open to the public, we want to make sure that our virtual tourists like yourselves, virtual visitors, can enjoy the gardens. Now, as you look out there, where the camera's pointing to, that is the nearby Santa Lucia Mountains. Mr. Hearst only had a zoo out here back in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. He also owned about 250,000 acres of ranch land. Now, the Hearst Ranch today is at about 80,000 acres, a little bit more than that. And there are cattle on that ranch. And there are also all sorts of other animals that we'll be talking about. Because besides zipping to the zoo today, we're going to roam the ranch. Now, imagine the zoo being out there in the Santa Lucia Mountains. And as the camera turns around towards me, as I take my little sip of water, we'll talk about another one of the animal species that live in the zoo. Besides monkeys, Mr. Hearst had giraffes. So you think about a giraffe, big, long neck, big, long legs, okay? I want you to think extension, and that's what we're gonna do. Now, I've got a chair that's right over here to the left, and we can go ahead and sit in that chair for this exercise. But you can just think long, you can think long arms, you can think long legs if you can't do this exercise. What we wanna do is come up on our toes, just like so. Again, maintaining that good posture. I'm at about a hip width stance, a little bit narrower than that. Tight tummy and tush, shoulders up and back. And I want to come up on my toes. Nice long legs. Then I want to bring my arms way up and stretch like a long giraffe. Now you can just stay here on your toes if you want, or if you want to, go up and down on your toes. You want to make about a count of 10 to 15, either 10 to 15 seconds or 10 to 15 on those toe raises. Up and down and up and down. Think long. And now if this is a problem for your shoulders, bring your arm to the side. And you can just simply think long legs, okay? If it's a problem for your legs, you can just think long arms. And again, you can do the toe raises also seated and the arm raises also seated if you don't want to stay standing. Let's try 5 more. And 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. We're going to walk up these stairs in Mr. Hearst's front yard of his big house, Casa Grande, the castle. Grab your water. We'll take a walk. And if you've got that mat or that grassy area, you'll want to go ahead and find that soft area as we begin to talk about another animal in the zoo, the lions. Now, you see the camera zooming in on a mythological lion. It's a tile embedded at the main terrace here of Hearst Castle. It's also the front yard, of course, of the castle itself. You'll notice that next to the camera and that mythological lion tile, I've got my map laying down here. So if you got that grass, that map for yourself, you want to go ahead and put that down. So besides monkeys, besides giraffes, Mr. Hearst had not just one species of lion, but 2. He had mountain lions from the state of California, indigenous to the state of California. He also had African lions. And lions like to go on all 4s, and that's what we're going to do next. That's why we need this mat. So you want to go ahead, get to the end of your mat or on the grass, shoulder width stance or hip width stance. Bring your shoulders up and back, tighten that midsection, the tummy and the rear end, and we'll come into a little hip hinge. You might know this is the bird dipper. And we'll come back, sitting back down like a squat, and we'll walk the hands on out, okay? Now, this exercise is going to require us to have a great deal of what's called core strength. So right here in your midsection, a lot of core strength, and you want to make sure that your wrists, elbows, and shoulders are aligned, okay? Because what we're going to do is we're going to run or climb like a mountain lion. We'll bring the legs in, just like so, knees to the chest almost. Now, for some of us, this might be a little bit much, because we're doing 10 to 15 on each leg, and you'll get your heart rate up pretty quick. So come on down to all 4s if you prefer, instead of doing what I just demonstrated, the mountain lion climb. Again, wrists, elbows, shoulders aligned. Make sure the knees are under the hips. And we can do a little pose called a cat-cow pose. And since lions are cats, this is the perfect one. So you won't get a whole lot of cardio, but you'll get a lot of core strength out of this exercise. You're going to go ahead and arch your back like a kitty cat would, chin to chest, putting an arch in your back, and you're squeezing the back of your legs and the back of your rear end, just like so. And then we release and come into what's called a cow pose. I mentioned the Hearst cattle that still roam the ranch. And there are many, many cattle here. So think of yourself as a cow. Your chin will come up, your eyes will go skyward, and you'll put your rear end out, extending the back. And you'll just go back and forth into that cat-cow pose for 10 to 15. Now, for those of you that find this is just not challenging enough, go back to that nice lion climber, okay? And again, you'll be just alternating your legs back and forth. Think of that mountain lion climbing that mountain of the Santa Lucia Mountains. If you want a little bit more challenge, run in place. That'll really get your heart rate up nice and fast. And for those of you that want even more, take the opposite knee to the opposite elbow. And you can go quickly, or you can go a little bit slower. So again, let's try about 5 of these on each leg. Mountain climbers. Here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Come on down to your knees if you're not already there. Give yourself a little rest. All right. Nice and easy. We're going to bring ourselves back up onto our feet. Nice and easy. Okay. Now, you might be out of breath like myself. You need to grab a little bit of water. We talked about monkeys. We've talked about giraffes. And believe you me, Mr. Hurst made sure that the monkeys and the giraffes were separated from the mountain lions and the African lions because lions are meat eaters. And those would have been, the giraffes and the monkeys would have been a meal for those lions. So he separated those out. Now, another animal that Mr. Hurst had up here in the zoo were the elephants. And his favorite elephant, one of his favorites anyway, her name was Mary Ann. And elephants, as you know, they've got a big trunk. And they make big noise when they raise their trunks. And that's going to be the basis of our next exercise, elephant extensions, okay? Now, you can do this seated. You can also do this standing. I'll demonstrate this in a standing position. Again, I'm facing away from the camera with that hip shoulder width stance, tightening my midsection and bringing those shoulders up and back, okay? Because what I'm going to come down to is a little hip hinge, kind of like that bird dipper we've done many times before here in Parks PE, okay? And then I'm going to make extending my arms out like this, pretending that my arms are an elephant trunk. I'll put my palms together. And what I'll do is I'll come all the way down, like I'm going to touch my toes, and then come up like an elephant would with its trunk, okay? So we come down and then up. You can even make an elephant noise as you come up if you wish. Inhaling down and exhaling up. Now, the one thing we want to be careful of, we don't want to round our shoulders. So you really got to stay conscious of that back being nice and flat, okay? If that's too much for you to come down to that, just come down about 45-degree angle. This is a 90-degree angle. This would be about a 45-degree angle, okay? And if you don't want to put those arms in front, that's fine. You can just simply do the bird dipper, okay? Like we talked about earlier. But if you want that elephant extension, seated or standing, you're going to fold at the hips and then bring those arms up and back. All right, let's try 10 of these. Up for 10. There it again. Exhaling as you come up, inhaling as you go down. If you want to, you can make that nice little elephant noise at the top. Good, just make sure you exhale. There's 5. Mary Ann the elephant. Right, and 7. Good. Notice I keep my legs nice and straight too. We got 2 more. For 9, bring it down, and number 10. Good job. All right, you need to shake it out a little bit because we're going to go ahead and focus on the castle here. Take a little breather while we're at it. A little stretching with our neck. Now, why do I say that? Well, we're going to go ahead and go away from the zoo for just a moment, talk about some of the animals that roamed the ranch, as well as what still roams the ranch. A little animal called the woodpecker. And the woodpeckers, much to the dismay of our landscapers, oftentimes peck that wood that you see up there. Now that is called teak wood. It's a teak wood cornice, and that triangular teak wood roof that you see there actually frames Mr. Hurst's private study, his Gothic study. And that was carved by a very talented craftsman by the name of Jules Succo between the years 1933 and 1934. And so what you're looking at there is beautiful hand-carved animals. And the woodpeckers peck on that wood. Now, woodpeckers, as you might recall or have seen in nature, they like to put their necks out and then back in. And that's what I want you to think about. Again, this can be done seated or standing, which can stretch the neck. If you are standing like myself, you want to make sure you've got that good posture. Sylvia reminds me about my good posture she did with our ballerinas today. So hip width stance, shoulders up and back. And you're going to want to go ahead and bring your chin forward and then your chin back. Try not to bend as I just did there. We just want to move the neck back and forth. Now, a lot of us, what we're doing throughout the day is we've got our neck extended like this, and it puts a lot of strain on the neck. So pulling that neck back like this, the way the woodpecker does, really does a good stretch and forces our spine not to be hurt so much. So again, you want to do about 10 to 15 of those. So you go out and you go in for 1. Let's try 10 of those. 3 and 4 and 5. Thinking like a woodpecker. 6 and 7 and 8. 9, 10. All right. So you might have caught your breath now after having done that. We're now going to go ahead and return to the zoo. Monkeys, giraffes, lions, elephants. Goodness, what else did Mr. Hurst have here? Well, he had polar bears here. Believe it or not, in California, he had concrete pens full of polar bears. And that's going to be the basis of our next exercise. You want to go ahead and go to your grassy area or to your mat. And you're going to want to come down to the mat. Again, hip to shoulder width stance, bringing the shoulders up and back. We'll go into that little hip hinge like we did with the mountain climbers a little bit earlier, not lion climbers. Go back to that squat and we'll walk it on out. Okay? Now, as we walk it on out, I'm going to come down to all fours. And you can stay right here if you wish, because I want you to think like a bear, a polar bear in particular. Wrists, elbows, shoulders aligned, just like so. But instead of staying on all fours, if you want that polar bear challenge, you come on your toes. As you can see, I flex my ankles and I come up like this. And I just hold the pose. It's called a plank, a bear plank. In this case, a polar bear plank. You can also walk it forward if you want. Left hand forward, right foot forward. And then you go right foot or right hand forward and left foot forward. And then back in the same direction if you want to do that walk. Takes a little bit of coordination, as you can see. Mine is not so great. I'm going to hold that isometric polar bear plank for about 10 seconds, tightening my tummy as I do so, making sure my wrists, ankles, shoulders are all aligned. And you can see I'm shaking a little bit because this is a difficult exercise. 5 more seconds. 3 more seconds. 1. Good. Come to the knees and go ahead and relax. Now, as we're relaxing here from that polar bear plank, the camera's going to take you upwards a little bit to a horse, a man on a horse in particular. He's called the Duke of Burgundy. And you'll notice that that horse is trotting in place. Well, horses also like to kick their rear legs too. And on his 80,000 plus acre ranch, Mr. Hurst had horses known as Morabs. In fact, many of them are still raised today. Morgan Arabic horses. And horses like to kick from behind. So we're going to go ahead and come on down just like so on all fours. And you can stay on all fours, or you can come up to your toes like this, depending on what challenge that you want or modification, as Sylvia called them. And you're going to kick back for 10. And notice as I kick back, I'm kicking with my heel nice and hard, and I've also got my ankle flex. I don't want to lean as I'm doing here. I'm doing that so you can see away from the camera. So you want to do that 10, or if you want the challenge, come on up just like so. You can also just stay in place if you want, and simply hold and brace your belly if the kicking is too much. You don't want to kick straight up, and also just kick straight back. That's also a little bit more of a modification. So I'm going to come to my toes. Let's try 5 on each leg. All right, so I bring in the one leg and I kick it out for 1, 2, 3, number 4, number 5. Bring it down, and I'm going to switch it out. Knee to my chest, out for 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. All right, bring it on down nice and easy. We'll come on up onto both feet. We'll talk a little bit more about the ranch. And one final animal in the zoo, the zebras. Zebras actually still roam the ranch. They're no longer in the zoo, but they roam the ranch just south of us here in San Simeon. And when we have tourists come up here and visit us in person, oftentimes they'll stop on the side of the road in the town just south of us here at Hearst Castle and snap photographs of those zebras. And just like the horses, they like to kick. And we're going to do what are called some posterior kickers. Now, if you're out of breath like I am a little bit, you can sit this one out, or you can join me, okay? This one is going to require us to stand to do this, so you need to take a breather. Go ahead and sit down, take some water. We'll bring our shoulders up and back. Again, nice tight midsection. Our stance is about hip width, all right? And what we're going to do is we're going to bring our rear end involved here. We're bringing our heels up to kick the rear end, just like so. And you could just do this in a marching in place. That's enough for you. You need to hold on to something like a table, something about waist height, so. Or if you want a little more challenge, engage your arm. So as one leg goes up, the opposite arm goes back, just like so. Again, you're trying to aim for your posterior. Zebra, posterior kickers. They like to kick. If you want more challenge, you can also then bring it into a little jog, just like so. I'll march in place, and we'll do this for 10 on each leg, beginning now. 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5, and 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. 2 types of rabbits also roam the ranch. Not part of the zoo. They roamed the ranch nearly 100 years ago. They still roam the ranch today. And one of these little rabbit types are the bunny rabbits. And you might be able to see this as my camera person comes close in on the little tile there, the mythological bunny rabbit. And if you need to sit this one out, that's fine. This is going to require us to stand. Our feet are going to come in a little bit closer. So less than hip width stance, shoulders up and back, tight midsection, and we're just going to hop for about 10, okay? Now, if you can't hop, you can just simply come up on your toes. You want to hop just like a bunny rabbit, nice and high. If you want more challenge, we'll do 5 more of these. 4, 3, 2, 1, easy. Okay, now the jackrabbit, the other rabbit that also roams the ranch, they like to jump big leaps and bounds, okay? So not that bunny rabbits don't. Bunny rabbits run and they hop, but jackrabbits, they like to leap and they jump as they move, all right? So if you want to join us with the jackrabbit, it's going to look like a broad jump. You've ever seen someone broad jump? Now, if you want to, again, sit this one out, shoulders up and back. We have Star J talking to us, by the way. You hear that bird in the background. Shoulders up and back, and you're going to come down into a little squat, so the rear end comes back, and we're just going to jump. Just jump, just like this, nice and easy. Turn around, do the same thing back, jump and jump. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, Laura, I thought that jackrabbits like to go big leaps and bounds. You bet they do. So we're doing baby jackrabbits here, but if you want to do the adult jackrabbit, well, by golly, turn around, and you're going to go nice and low with that squat, and then jump, leaps and bounds, and jump, and jump. There you go. Just like it got a rubber band or rockets in those heels. And again, make sure you exhale as you jump, just like a jackrabbit. We'll do that 4 more times, and up, and up. Jackrabbit jumpers. There it is. Whew. Did about 12 of those. And I think now is the time to come down and calm down. We're in a cool down. And we're going to go to what I think is one of the most beautiful areas here at the San Simeon East Castle property. We'll grab our water bottle, we'll take a walk, and we'll let our camera person do all the talking for us with the pictures that you see for you. As you drink from your hydration station, drink in that view.